Hello everyone, this is David from Automotive Press. I'm doing a review of the 2022 Ford Maverick beside me, but I also brought my 2022 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro just as a comparison in terms of size and dimension. Don't worry, I'm not doing a comparison between these two models because they don't compete directly, but it's very interesting to see traditional truck buyers slowly moving toward more of a modern truck like the Maverick, because this thing is not even based on body on the frame design. So let me show you what the Maverick is all about. I'll do a walk around review, do a full engineer's audit, and then take you for a drive, and also help you understand why this kind of truck is becoming more and more popular as people move away from large truck like the Tundra, because you know what, for most of you, this will serve your purpose just well. So let's get right into it. Welcome back. So I have the Ford Maverick in the basic hybrid format. If you recall, the Maverick's base engine is the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine with a hybrid system, and that's the only way it comes for the base models. So it's a really amazing value because you get a really good fuel efficiency, but the price is surprisingly attractive. Now I'm going to do a quick audit here in terms of quality control. So I'm going to check for panel gaps, panel alignment, and paint quality and paint thickness. So let's take a look at the alignment of the panels. So I'm going to be looking to see if the panels are aligned properly and the gaps. And it's about 4.3 millimeter, but more importantly, it's pretty consistent from front all the way to the back. Sometimes it's really hard to get this part right, and you can tell it's not aligned quite perfectly. So it's a little bit misaligned, not too bad, but it is still a little bit misaligned. And then between the front fender and the front door, it's about 4.5 millimeter. It's very well aligned. And between front door and the rear door, about 5 millimeter. So the integrity of the panels are actually quite good. Now let's take a look at the paint quality in terms of gloss, in terms of the amount of orange peel. So I've been looking at it for a while, and it's as good as what you will find in most cars or SUVs or trucks in this price range. In fact, because the Maverick is so well priced, I would say the paint quality is above average for vehicles in this price range. And actually the gloss is very good. The clear coat is very consistent. The orange peel is not excessive. And the actual paint quality from front to back is excellent. You can kind of see yourself almost like a mirror image here. A little bit of a wave happening here, but the rest of the paint job is pretty good. Now let's look at the paint thickness. Now paint thickness is not necessarily an indication of a paint quality, but you don't want the paint thickness to be too thin or too thick. If it's too thick, it means that it has been repainted. So you want the paint thickness to be between 100 to 180 microns. Thicker the better for durability reasons, but anywhere between 100 to 150 is fine. So let's take a look at here, the front. Good. 113 microns. This is aluminum, by the way. This would also tell you what is steel aluminum. 109 here, so a little bit thinner than I would like to see. 123, so it's a little bit thicker in the door. 113, so it's very consistent. Let's do one more here. And this is 99 micron. Let's check that one more time. 108, so maybe it was a misreading earlier. So it's about the same, 110 to 130 all the way through. And again, some parts of it is aluminum. These are steel here, these are steel here, steel, and this is aluminum. Obviously, aluminum is more expensive, so in a cheaper car like this, they don't use as much. Let's just check the roof as well. Yeah, this is 102, so the paint is a little bit thin on the top. So overall, I would give, let's say, B+ for paint quality and paint thickness, and I would say maybe a B for integrity of the panel alignment, because there are a few spots where it's not quite aligned. Here's one more spot where it's actually not very good here. You can tell it's a little bit misaligned. So the rest of the body looks just fine. And let's get into the interior and take a look to see if the quality is very good or not. And then we take it for a drive. Now, before we get into the interior of the Maverick, Let's just take a look to see how much of a difference there is between the full-size truck like the Tundra and this small, tiny truck, which is a new trend these days. Now what I've done is I've lined up the two trucks in terms of the driver's position. So the driving position is here and it's about here, same. And you can tell right away that the Tundra sticks out way more in the front, but more importantly in the back, because this one is a crew cab design. It's got a big 4-door design, but also the pickup bed is much bigger. It's a 6.5 foot instead of a 4.5 foot, so it's almost 2 feet longer. You can see where this ends and where the Tundra ends. So it's much bigger, also a lot taller. It's easy to get in and out of the Maverick. Very low sill, easy entry and exit. Tundra is high, especially in this TRD Pro format. I gotta literally climb into the interior. So you can see how much higher the Tundra is off the ground compared to the Maverick, which is very low because again, this is car-based, designed for everyday city driving, not so much off-roading like the Tundra TRD Pro. This thing is massive in terms of width as well. So it's so wide that it requires these marker lights here and also in the front because it's more than 8 inches wide. That's the regulation. The Maverick, on the other hand, very compact this way, not so tall, actually pretty good. I can put my hand over here. With Tundra, I gotta jump. So which is right for you? Well, only you can decide. But once again, I do want to emphasize that most people do not need a full-size truck like this. It's just very difficult to maneuver in city traffic and also really difficult to park. Believe me, I love the Tundra TRD Pro, but this thing at almost half the price, actually less than half the price, with amazing fuel economy because it actually gets 42 miles per gallon in the city, and with a price tag that is very attractive, it's really hard to beat the value of this Maverick. Now keep in mind that if you want all-wheel drive, you do have to move up to the higher grade model, which has EcoBoost 4-cylinder turbocharged engine with more power and torque as well. So there are a couple of different options, but for the base model, it only comes in hybrid and it is only available in front-wheel drive. Now in terms of the interior quality, let's take a quick look through here. If I do my usual punch test, it's not bad, but it does have some loose pieces. No, I did not notice any rattles or squeaks during my drives. A little bit from the overhead roof, I did notice that, but for the most part, it was pretty solid. I would give it sort of a B plus in terms of interior fit and finish, but the design is very unique. So I do have to take my hats off to Ford for doing something a bit different. And in that regard, Ford definitely takes a little bit more risks than something like Toyota. So for example, this is kind of like a rock surface looking, like a granite look, I think. And then you got lots of orange accents throughout, which is really quite cool. Now this is empty in some models, and this one has a bit of a design, but also throughout the vehicle, including in the back here, Ford is encouraging people to design their own 3D printed materials and stick it into this truck. So you could interchange a few things or add a few interesting gadgets, and they're really encouraging the new generation of truck buyers to play with their model, to play with their vehicle and customize it to their liking. So it's kind of interesting design. Otherwise, I'm glad it's still got knobs for audio and for AC. Honestly, this is the best way to able to manage your HVAC and your audio visual stuff. I'm really glad that they didn't put everything into the infotainment system, which by the way is a bit small, but it's fast and easy to control, and it's actually pretty good. The Ford system, I think, is one of the better ones. It's simple and it's pretty fast. In terms of the instrument gauge, you get a mixture of physical gauges with some digital control in the center. And I know that the trend is to have full digital instrument cluster, but honestly, real physical gauges are better. In my perspective as an engineer, I like seeing something physically moving. So you know what, this is totally fine. It doesn't look cheap and it looks well integrated. The rest of the interior is interesting. The only complaint I have is the door handle here. I know they're trying to be a little bit unique by having this door that does not actually carry on from this side to this side. It also allows you to put a huge bottle of water or a soft drink here. But honestly, this is too short and it's also very slippery, so it's kind of a strange design. Also, there's no start-stop for the engine, and there is no keyless entry on this base model. Now, this one actually has a luxury package, but still doesn't have keyless entry. You have to move to the more expensive Lariat version to do that. So I would say that's one of the shortcomings of the interior. You can buy the cheapest car out there these days, and they come with a start-stop and keyless entry. So Ford, please put that back into this XLT, which is a mid-level version, because I hate having to put the key in and start the engine and not being able to get in and out by just touching the door handle. So that's, I think, is a bit of an issue. The rest of the interior is comfortable. The seats are actually really good. A little bit soft for my taste, but the interior is surprisingly roomy because it's car-based. It's actually quite well designed. And once again, if you don't know any better, you wouldn't know that this is a car-based truck. This is based on the Ford Escape crossover. So it does drive like an SUV with a hint of a truck feel. So those are some really interesting things about the Maverick. Now let's take it for a drive and let me tell you more about the Maverick on the road. So now I am driving the Ford Maverick, and for the most part it just drives like any other SUV or crossover. In fact, you won't even realize you have a pickup bed in the back unless you turn around and look at it. It drives exactly like a Ford Escape or something similar to that. So it's quite smooth, it's quite refined. Starts off in the hybrid mode, so it's very quiet when you first begin to drive the vehicle. And because it sits very low and it's easy to enter and exit and easy to park, this is a truck I end up running errands in instead of driving my 2022 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Some of you guys might recognize that I purchased that truck not too long ago. Because the Tundra TRD Pro is a full-on body-on-the-frame truck that's a beautiful truck to drive, but just darn too big, and it sits so high up that sometimes I can't get into underground parking. Once again, these are real city issues because we live in big town like Vancouver. So for the most part, I think really the Ford Maverick makes sense for those people who need to carry stuff in the back occasionally, who love the idea of a pickup truck, but really do not want to be burdened with a big truck that uses up a lot of gas, uses up a lot of space, and also very difficult to maneuver. Now, in terms of ride and handling, it's pretty well a standard fare because it feels so much like the Ford Escape, and therefore it's predictable and it's easy to drive, but I wouldn't say it's fun to drive. You lose that bit of a truck feel like you do in a Ford Ranger or Toyota Tacoma because it's not bumpy and you're not sitting up high. So you do lose some of that truck feel, and therefore if you like the truck feel, you might not want to get this one. Otherwise, this is the perfect recipe for a small pickup truck. In many ways, I prefer the Maverick over the Ford Ranger, once again because it's an easier car to drive, it's very comfortable, and for passenger also, this thing is quiet and this thing is smooth and refined. A lot of people prefer to be in a vehicle like this as passenger. It's not as cool looking and it's not as good in terms of off-roading as a Ford Ranger or something like a Toyota Tacoma, both of which are quite a bit bigger. But I think Ford has a sweet spot with this Maverick. And that's showing up in numbers because it's selling so well that Ford has stopped receiving orders for 22 model year, and you're going to have to wait perhaps maybe a year or even longer to get the Maverick because it is in such a high demand. And it was a very smart move by Ford to actually equip this with a hybrid system as a base model, which is a huge surprise. And also give it a very attractive pricing. So once again, let me re-emphasize that if you are a traditional truck buyer, you like that truck feel and you like to sit a little bit high up, or you like to go some serious off-roading, then you probably do want to stick with body-on-the-frame trucks like a Ford Ranger, Toyota Tacoma, or Nissan Frontier. But on the other hand, if you're migrating from SUV or crossover and you need to be able to carry something in the back for a bicycle or whatever, surfing, paddleboard, and you do want the truck, but you also don't want to sacrifice comfort, refinement, and ease of use, this is the perfect truck for you. Another thing to keep in mind is that the base model, which comes only in the hybrid model, gets exceptional fuel economy. But if you want more power or you want all-wheel drive, you do have to move up to EcoBoost turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, which does not have hybrid to go with it. And that engine, while it's quite powerful and refined, isn't anywhere as efficient as this hybrid. So you're gonna have to decide whether you want maximum efficiency or a better performance, and also whether you're okay with two-wheel drive or you want four-wheel drive. Those are some of the decision factors you have to take into account before trying to figure out which model is the right one for you. Overall, I gotta take my hats off to Ford, who obviously understands the truck market better than anyone else, because their Ford F-150 is the best-selling truck in North America, and they are very much closely linked to the buyer's mind. I expect other manufacturers to follow this trend and provide a car-based truck in the future, including Toyota. I think there's rumors that they will actually introduce a Corolla Cross-based pickup truck in the future. So this market is slowly going to get crowded over time. But for now, Ford has a huge advantage as being a mainstream truck manufacturer to come up with a very efficient, practical, and affordable small pickup truck. So that's all I have for now, folks. A lot more videos coming your way. If you're able to give me a thumbs up, make some comments, and subscribe, that would be truly appreciated. But until next time, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.